And that's it. And I guess I'll introduce Mike. So Mike is a good friend of mine, but also man about town. And I want to also thank him for supporting the design work for the playground. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. You know, Chris is an absolute. I mean, to have somebody like Chris living in New Haven and making himself available for this project is really. We're so lucky. There just aren't people like Chris Ozick. He's a rarity. He's a one of a kind, and we're very lucky. And thanks, Chris, for being part of this. So Carla came to me and asked me whether I'd help out with a playground, and we had very modest plans at that time, and I said sure, let's as I usually do, I say yes before I look at my checkbook, and we started this sort of modest project, and it's really turned into something fabulous. I mean, it's just so exciting, and I'm very honored that they've decided to name the playground after my grandmother, Isa Atwater. And which is really just fabulous. And my grandmother died a few years ago, and she was the most influential person in my life. And it's not because she was a particularly extraordinary person. She really wasn't. She was actually an isolationist. She was actually almost antisocial. She didn't really like people all that much, frankly. And if I stop there, we're going to lose the name, aren't we, Carla? So I'll keep going. There's a reason for that. No one more than my grandmother understood the necessity of play. It's not just a gift, it's a necessity. I think Stuart Brown, the child psychologist, says that play is critical to the sense of belonging and connectedness for children, and that carries over to adulthood. And my grandmother didn't have that. And my grandmother was born out of wedlock. They were thrown from their little town in England. They were forced to come to America because it was a shameful thing. They lived in Wallingford. Her father was an alcoholic. She got tuberculosis when she was 5. She lived at Gaylord for 3 years with no other children, just herself. She moved back to the little town where her parents lived, and she was the only Protestant in a Catholic neighborhood. And if you were the only Protestant in a Catholic neighborhood, or if you were the only Catholic in a Protestant neighborhood, you were in trouble back in 1920. And she got bullied, and she got bullied mercilessly. And when she finally got herself out of that environment, she got pregnant out of wedlock. And then the Depression hit. So it was an absolutely brutal 18, 19 years. And she met my grandfather, who had a 5th grade education. They saved their nickels. They built a modest business called Atwater Paving in Branford, and they saved every dime they had. And they used that money to provide nursery school education for their grandkids, Hampton Hall education for their kids. And these are people without educations who sent their kids to Hampton Hall, to Wheelock College, sent their grandkids to nursery school, and on and on and on. And she remained antisocial, a recluse, and miserly in every other fashion, except when it came to providing opportunities for kids to grow, expand, and be connected. So I'm really honored that Carla and the board has decided to honor my grandmother. It really means a lot to me. Thank you.